Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order for February 3rd, 2025. It is 6 p.m. First on our agenda, our department budget meeting tonight is the Highway Department. Could you please come forward, sir? I know most of the people know you as far as doing it. I just want to make note that Robin is not here tonight. She may join us a little later, I'm not sure, but we still have a quorum.
Just an update, I'm sorry, in the salary sheet, because
Oh,
I had
okay.
to run the numbers again. I want to make sure.
Thank you.
Get the lights on. Okay.
Tonight we have Tom Walker with us. Tom, just like every night that we have this, I explained that we are a kind of a fact-finding group of people. We make recommendations to the select board. The select board goes over our recommendations. We'll get together and they will decide what to put on the warrant for the upcoming annual town meeting. And then the taxpayers of the town of Northfield will make their decisions. They are the ultimate voters on our budget, so they are the ones that actually make our budget. That being said, if you'd like to go over your budget, I can see that you have one area, new trees. I think that most people don't understand that, but I do, so I'd like to have you explain it since we're on the air tonight.
Yes, we, last year we started a new tree account to put in replacement trees after we cut trees down. Try to move them back and put them in a better place, so we've been trying to up that a little bit each year. It kind of started with the 350th.
350th, yeah.
And I know they got money and we helped plant a bunch of trees around, so people really enjoyed that and wanted more of it. So I went up $1,000 on that because some of the trees that we're looking at you don't get much for the money we have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think they do, I think they have some more money, but I'm not sure if it's for trees.
They had a little bit, we did a few more out here, and then I think they got a little bit left for the spring, they said to do some more.
Okay.
And then we contribute a little, if we take some maple trees or things like that down those big rock maples like on Highland Ave and places like that.
You try to replant something there.
Yeah, well, that's what, and to buy a medium-sized maple, I'm talking, like a 2-inch, it's, they're upwards of $1,000 almost a piece, so you don't buy very much. So we just started off last year with 1,500, and then we just upped it. I upped it 1,000 this year. So we can do a little bit more of that.
You down in telephone?
What's that?
You went down a little bit in your telephone, it looks like?
Yeah, we changed the plan. We're gonna just give the employees a stipend. We were paying for the phones before. They all had a phone, and they don't like carrying 2 telephones around, if they have any personal calls to make and stuff. So we decided this year we're gonna pay them a stipend instead, which is
Okay.
less than what we were paying on the phone. So that brought that account down 500.
Wages, we don't really have that much control over.
Well, I did want to speak to that because
Okay.
things changed there. Just to give you an explanation, and I know it's going to yell at me for not being in front of a microphone. So, as you'll recall, when I spoke to you, I asked about the maintenance position, and we moved that into the town hall line item as a request. But Tom is asking to replace that position with a highway position. And the reason that you're not seeing a big change in wages here under regular wages is that we changed out the highway position, the maintenance position, which was at a slightly higher grade, it was the same grade, different step, for a new DPW position. You'll see that on your salary sheet. So with that and the changes about where people are, it really nets out to 0 for this budget. Again, we've moved a request into the, I don't want to hide the fact that we moved that request into the town hall budget where it was years ago to put that position back into the town hall budget, but to put this position in highway. So it doesn't raise his budget much. And you'll see it again when you get to winter roads. It goes up a little bit more on snow removal because I had a little bit less in for the person who was the maintenance person for snow removal overtime and wages, so it does jump up a little bit there. And so it's a little bit less of an offset there, but it's, again, it's not huge. But I just wanted to kind of explain that strange, it looks like $94, because it's really an offset.
So the need for another DPW, could you explain that?
Yeah, that's on him. I just want to explain the budget.
Yeah, I mean, years ago we had that, and then when we switched things around, we didn't have the money because it was paid for through Chapter 90, basically.
Okay.
So we basically were staffed with 6 people, and then we switched things around because then it went back and forth on a lot of different things. Then we tried hiring like a mechanic. We were gonna do like all the mechanic work and stuff on the cruisers, and so they started getting so sophisticated that we were gonna have to send somebody to school to do it, so that didn't really work out. And then at one point in time, we had a foreman that was gonna retire, so we basically had 2 foremans at the same time. And then we kind of took that position away when we stopped paying for it out of the Chapter 90. We used to pay for all the wages out of that when we did Chapter 90 work.
How does this better help your crew?
Definitely better in the winter months, and even in the summer months, because now we used to hire part-time people to do roadside mowing and things like that. And I can't find any part-time people that have the qualifications and licenses.
Okay.
Excuse me, for doing, running the roadside mower. So basically for at least 3 months, I'd lose a guy that I never lost of work that we generally do, plus vacation times and everything else. It makes it really tough. I mean, we did a big drainage job last year, for instance, and we had 3 people most of the time. Some days we had 4 of us there, but the mowing guy was always mowing to try to keep up on that aspect of things. So by replacing this, it's gonna help all around, wintertime especially.
What are some of your summer projects that you are gonna be anticipating, or?
We got quite a few culverts that have to be changed, the possibility of the Highland Ave job.
Mhm.
And then there's another culvert actually on Burnham Road that we've just noticed is bad, but I have to get an engineer in there. With any luck, Warwick Road. There's a bunch of drainage to do up Moody Street. There's more than enough.
Okay.
And then it's the same with like when we pave and stuff, we do all the traffic details. So we lose a couple people there all day long, which if we're doing some other projects too, at the same time, I end up losing because you gotta put a guy on each end, when we're paving.
Okay. $20,000, explain that to me for higher bridges and rails.
The increase?
Yeah.
The increase is for, well, the pipe is almost doubled again. My products have gone up at least 12 to 15%, if not 19%, for all the products that we use, the stone, sand. So I increased it in some of the products like the oil and stone, the asphalt. That it's hard to say because it does fluctuate, but last year it went up. Then at the end of the year it came back down. So it all depends on when we do it. So that was the main concern. Engineering has gone up considerably. So I tried to bring it up to try to keep up with some of it. The gravel especially, some of the gravels have gone up 19 to 20%.
Okay.
And they expect an increase again this year. So I was trying to put in what I thought it was
Looking
gonna
at
be.
crystal ball, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I see that snow removal wages have gone up. I think Andrea addressed that a little bit, but
That was with the adjustment because we just changed that the last couple of years, so we've been on a fluctuating, every year obviously is different, with the overtime and stuff and how much we're out there. But there's been an adjustment because it was never separated before.
Okay.
So we're trying to get a handle on kind of an estimate for a couple, 2 or 3 years and take a happy medium.
I can understand diesel going up, nothing's going down.
Yeah, diesel and
Yeah,
a
but
lot of the
what's
parts and the mechanics
What's this?
is going up as well.
The 70,000.
That's still in there, that hasn't changed.
What is it though?
Okay,
What's the last line under highway? It's highway, BR and rails, other?
bridges and rails.
Bridges and rails, what is that?
It's
The
other, like if we were to buy a small piece of equipment or something strange that if, like, so we buy attachments sometimes, buckets or different things for our equipment that we have or we
Okay.
have to replace because they get worn out. So we
Okay.
put that under other.
Okay.
It's anything to do with construction stuff that we do outside.
Accessories, okay,
Yep.
thank you.
And the machinery maintenance again was fuel fluctuates, gas fluctuates. Parts, obviously, they've gone up considerably.
Okay, the snow removal and other expenses, is that related to wages? Because it's a strange number, it's 6710. 7610, 7610. It's kind of a, oh, it just rounded it up to make it $20,000, is that what it was? This would be under snow removal and
Yeah,
sand.
the last line's second page.
You kind of skipped down to maintenance, but if you go back
Go to the
up.
second page.
I was looking to see on my sheet how I did it.
Well, that just looks like you rounded it off to make it
I
$20,000.
think we rounded it up.
Yeah, it was at one time 12,300,
Yeah, 12,390.
or actually, no, it was 23,333.
That's the expenditure
Yeah,
piece.
okay, never mind.
That's the actual from last year.
Right,
So-
allocated was 12, and then I upped it a little bit because we expended a little bit more. There was 12,390 and we expended 23,334.
Excuse me, did the expenditures have anything to do with the wages, if you had to?
No,
No,
the
just-
the expenditures, the other expenses, like chains for the sanders and plow blades for the plows,
Okay.
comes out of those.
And then you explained the maintenance. Like, garage electricity, $40, we're not gonna question that.
No, we could.
You wanna question?
No.
Yeah. Anybody have, excuse me, any questions on what we've gone over so far? No, she's just got her hand.
Oh, okay.
Well, I have a, for the facilities maintenance.
Yeah,
We haven't gone there yet though, right?
No.
Okay.
Facilities maintenance is $40 one, you mean?
No, I'm wondering what the survey line is for, because it looks like nothing's ever spent.
Survey.
that's so we can survey some of the town bounds, and we were having troubles finding a surveyor to come in and, for the money that we have. I think we just found one that actually did a bunch of work for the sewer department, that's willing to do smaller portions. It's to lay out some roadways where we have troubles with, sometimes with like residents. Everybody thinks they own to the edge of the road, and we're gonna try to do areas that we have questions, like with trees or where the road actually is. So we're gonna try to spend $10,000 a year on some problem areas that we have and try to locate our actual bounds and set bounds there.
I don't know if the
So-
select board realizes they're supposed to be walking the boundaries every year.
Yeah.
It's in their job description, but. So in lieu of that, we end up paying a fee to the state, just saying, oh yeah, we did.
Love it.
Is this like the fence viewer?
It's similar to the fence viewer. Moving on to cemetery, it doesn't look like there's anything,
I left that all the same.
What's the
Okay.
other purchase services?
for which one?
Cemeteries, what's the 26.8 in cemeteries?
25,000, or 26,800?
Yeah,
That's what we used to do, maintenance, like we've been upgrading the roadways and things like that.
inside the cemeteries?
Yep.
Okay.
And then we also, well, the other purchase services, it's, the other expenses are what, some of that we take out of, but we also sub out the lawn mowing, comes out of that.
Comes out of the other expenses?
purchase, Yeah,
So the lawn mowing is, okay,
yeah, that's contracted each year.
okay. So that's not your folks, okay.
I just had a question. You've got in there a new person, which I assume is split between snow and highway. I see the increase in snow, but shouldn't there be somewhat of an increase in highway?
That's the one I just
Yeah,
explained.
yeah.
So if you
Okay.
look at the new sheet that I just gave you,
Yeah,
if you see where it says new,
yeah,
that used to be a maintenance position.
okay, and that was
So,
part of the old budget?
Correct, and actually the
Okay.
maintenance position was budgeted higher than 7.1. So
Okay.
it not only covered this position, it actually ate up some of the COLA increases
Okay,
that would have normally shown up in that line item because we were budgeting it at like 7.3 or 5 or something, so it was actually higher.
okay,
So, but we didn't do quite so much for winter roads for that person. So that's where it,
okay, flip-flopped or whatever.
flip-flopped a little,
But you
right.
had, but there was extra in the highway
because we took that position out. Now,
Okay.
I didn't want to fool anybody, that position moved to town
Okay.
hall, so there's the bump there. Moved
Okay.
back to town hall, it used to actually be in town hall.
Right.
We moved it here, and now we're moving
Okay.
it back, but then he's requesting this new one, so.
Okay, I'm just trying to wrap my head around.
Yeah, it seems a little confusing that it would be
Yeah.
such a small increase, but the truth is there was a position in there that we're now moving elsewhere. So you're gonna see
It's
that
moved
bump.
into a different budget. It's
You're
moved
gonna
into-
see that in the town
Okay.
hall budget.
Okay, so that's where the.
That's where the new
Yeah.
position, that new position went. This is a new position, and this, transferred this position from maintenance over to town hall.
Okay,
So
okay, so it decreased.
it
that.
decreased here
Yeah, but
and
then it will
increased
increase.
back in there.
Okay,
Correct.
So how are we gonna explain that at town meeting?
I think when it comes to the budget and anyone asks about that increase, we're gonna have to say, this used to be a maintenance position in this. We actually took it out years ago. You would see actually, if you go back a few years, there's a big decrease in the town hall position, in the town hall budget, because we removed the position and moved it to highway.
Okay,
And now we're putting it back, because we found that it really is very difficult to split that position.
Correct.
He's requesting it. So
So
in
you
a
look at
sense,
that.
if we'd taken it out, his budget would have decreased.
correct.
But it's not, we're putting it in. So it looks level, but the truth is the budget moved. So I'm sure you're gonna see the question at the town hall and have to explain it.
Oh, absolutely.
And then someone might say, $94, and you're gonna have to explain, this is the other half
Yeah.
of the equation.
okay,
And the town hall maintenance person would be, it's not just a town hall maintenance person, he would be a person that would be maintenance to all town buildings.
Correct.
It's just, that's the budget we put it in.
Anything else on what we're talking
Well, the
about?
other thing is with the town maintenance, you have to realize it's also gonna have an additional large building to our assets to maintain, which will be the new EMS facility. So obviously there is a clear need because there's gonna be just more work to be done.
yeah,
And there were some
Something like
areas where the custodian was doing things that were actually in the, what a town maintenance person would have been doing, like mowing and snow blowing and that sort of stuff that she's been doing, which would go up for, in some cases, I don't know how this would work out, would be plowing the town parking lots. So that would probably come under that person's description, that would be the maintenance man.
Right,
the
and
town
take
maintenance
that
man.
off of the plate, get the truck with the plow back for the maintenance position, and take that off the plate of the highway, so town hall, the elementary school, the library could all be plowed with the maintenance position, while the rest of highway's doing the roads.
Tom, I want to ask you, what are you looking at for this coming fiscal year? Any projects? Now, I know you mentioned culverts and potentially Highland Avenue. Is that going to be starting sometime this year? Or is that in the
Hopefully,
future?
We're trying to get all the paperwork squared away.
Okay.
'Cause
And,
that's a lot of that's on a grant.
okay, and the other thing is, the bridge that's closed, I believe it's School Street. What's the status with that?
They just appointed an engineer, and the engineer was supposed to start in January, and I haven't heard a word from him.
Okay,
I have a call into the engineering firm to see what the status is, and I haven't got any return phone calls.
okay.
I've had, in my other half, I've had people ask if there's any way that bridge, they could open up enough for walking transportation? Is there a reason? So that
Because
we
the
can-
way the Jersey barriers are set up, they're set and tied together for an impact if somebody tries to go through there.
Okay, so it's for safety
It's
reasons?
safety reasons, and that's why we closed it. We've been back and forth with it, and the way they hook together, we can't unhook them to move them. And right now, they're actually up against the guardrails.
Yeah.
And if we move them out, you still have to have them for structurally safe So they'd still have to go against, or go all the way over to the edges, so there still wouldn't be any room to walk. I know when somebody went down last year and moved them,
Well, we thought you moved them, but they moved.
everybody thought I did, but I didn't, I moved them back.
Well, good to know, because a lot of people didn't
And
realize.
that's why
it
we're
was-
trying to push to get this done,
Yeah.
because it's, you also have the bridge out here on Burnham Road, so I mean, if something goes bad with that bridge, which has been bad since I've worked here, 23 years
Was that
now.
1940 what? Was that put in there or
I
something like
can't
that?
remember now the
Yeah.
date on it, but it
There's a
was,
date on it.
they were working on that, designing that before I started.
So their designs, well,
They're still designing it, I guess. The state's been out, they actually did drill holes and stuff, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago.
which one?
The Burnham Road Bridge. The other bridge we were waiting on, we had a small bridge grant, and we chose Tide and Bond, but the state appoints
To the-
The
okay.
engineer.
the engineer, and that went, what, a year? A little
It's
over
been
a
a-
year.
it's
It's
been
been a
a
year,
year.
year and a half. And finally, they appointed a different firm, because Tide and Bond has so many going on now.
Okay,
And like I said, the last note that I got, email, was they were gonna start the 1st of January, but
on that bridge?
on School Street, on the
Oh.
engineering
On the
portion.
engineering.
Oh, on engineering on School Street, okay.
But
So
the-
you still
The grant
were-
is engineering,
Right.
then we have to apply for the construction. We haven't gotten the engineering done.
And who would be doing the construction?
It depends on what they design.
We'll
It's hard to say.
supply, we'll hopefully apply for a small bridge construction grant.
Right.
Unfortunately, with the climate that it is, that is a concern I have on not only this, but all our budgets, that it may in some way affect the small towns, the trickle-down effects from the feds to the state, to county to us. So, we're being very cautious about, budgets for the next couple of years, obviously, because of the trickle-down effect. With that being said, the next part of the program are your capital requests.
Yeah. I'm not sure which one you guys.
Well, right now, I'm looking at the $200,000 one, which would be your replacement of your,
Replacement of the 17 truck, which is on the capital.
yep. Well, that was, I'm looking at the one I had from last year. Oh, so that's the, let me just look at this.
Right, line 2016.
It says 2016.
Freightliner, yeah.
Yeah, they call it a 17 on the registration, it's a 16.
That's a Freightliner,
Yeah.
you're number 10.
It's number.
Oh, it's 10 years old and it's number 8, right?
Number 8,
Okay.
correct.
Um,
And originally, we were only gonna go 7 years, and I extended it because there wasn't a lot wrong with the truck, and we've had good luck with it. There is a lot of small things now starting to break, and the plows are getting worn out on it.
okay.
And the truck that we're replacing with is pretty much the same thing, and pretty unfortunate.
So is that the going rate now for, is this a new or used vehicle that you'd be looking
New.
for? Excuse me?
New.
New?
Are we missing the quote sheet?
Uh,
There's 2 of 2.
So you're saying that this vehicle has reached the end of its lifespan, that
It's
putting
getting.
money into it is not worthwhile anymore, or
No, I
it'd
mean,
be
I've been
very
putting money
I
under?
into
remember
it
seeing
right
it on
now, I
email.
mean, I'm not saying that it couldn't go another year or so.
I just didn't see it.
I just look at, the price of this truck now has already gone up almost $50,000 in a year.
Gee,
Well, it's gonna,
And there's no end to this. This is the hard part for me. Every time I get a quote, say like this year, next year, I mean, for this same truck, I'm probably gonna, if I came back in here, if we didn't do it, I'd probably be asking for $230 or $240, if not more.
So the only thing is, you're basically buying the truck, you're not buying the sander that's with it, but you'd have to buy a new
Oh, no.
plow?
Yeah, we're gonna get all new. It'd
All
be a
new, so it's
plow,
replacing the
sander,
bed.
everything. Yep.
The sander
Complete
and the
truck.
plow and the
Yeah.
truck, okay.
Yeah, that's what, I mean, I don't know if you got a copy that, that's what the quotes on the back
Okay.
from Viking and stuff, that's all the plowing equipment, the hydraulic system,
Is the bed gonna be stainless or regular steel?
stainless.
Stainless, I know most are going to that for
Yeah,
corrosion resistance,
Yeah.
for salt, okay.
So the quote, I think I saw it online, but I don't see it here, it was for 150, right?
No, that's for
That's what-
something else.
That's for something else.
That's
I don't see
Yeah,
the quote.
this
What's the-
price is a little bit higher than if you were to look at all the quotes on the equipment in the truck. But this is just a quote when I got it now. When we get them, if this passes at town meeting, they have a change of pricing usually right about now.
So,
Where am I?
like other vehicles that we're in here, is there a long lead time for something like this?
The smaller trucks, no, the bigger trucks are the ones we've had troubles
So
with.
this is a
Okay.
smaller truck.
This is a
Okay.
medium duty truck.
Oh,
This is it's a non-CDL truck is what it is,
Okay.
so it's a GVW
Yeah,
less
because
than
I know those go
26,000.
for big money.
What is the
Right.
total for the
That's why I was
quote by
like,
itself?
200?
He's thinking 200.
I mean,
Where's the
honestly,
quote?
this truck, when we bought
I
it
don't
in
see it
16,
amount, or am I
we
missing
paid,
it?
I think, $80,000 for it.
Is in the other one? Maybe I should.
Yeah.
And I mean, just the
Well, yeah,
plowing
what's the
equipment, I
quote
mean,
total?
when people give me prices, it's, the truck we've already ordered that we
There's another one.
got approved
Yeah.
last year, I mean,
I just
the one
wondered-
that it's
yeah, what is-
replacing, I built that truck in
There's a
'05
$50,000
for
difference.
$140,000 and now it's $400,000.
Yeah, this is- I'm gonna get this.
Oh, thank you.
Because I'm looking at what
Yeah,
next
that's
year
right.
is bringing, and you're looking at a $400,000 larger truck, and you're looking at a John Deere tractor, so you're looking at
But that
about
makes the
500,
155.
right now, $520,000 next year. Just keep that in mind as far as doing. Last year, you went for a brand new dump truck for
Yeah.
$400,000, so. Unfortunately, your department is a department that has high-end, high-ticket
Okay.
equipment, so it's kind of almost sticker shock sometimes, so, and we're very aware of it, and as like I'm saying, the climate is getting to the point where, we're gonna put the brakes on some different things, so, after we get all this done, we may ask you, what could you live without for a year? We might have to start pushing some of these things out. I don't like to do that,
I
because
know,
what
cause
happens.
that's what's happened before,
I
I
know.
mean, the bigger dump truck, honestly, that '05 we just replaced, back years ago when we bought it in '05, we were only gonna go 10 years. And then we just replaced it last year.
And I would love to do everything, but,
No, and I understand, I mean, I try to look at it as how much I'm putting into the equipment each year, and it becomes more and more to keep it running, to keep it in the fleet. Like the John Deere tractor and stuff, that's what mows the sides of the roads, like what you're talking about for next year.
we'll go to the next high ticket item, which is $150,000. This is the repair to the aging grader. And I'm looking at your 10-year, and it looked like that one was scheduled to be replaced in 2030, which is,
That was originally, and then it's, the hours on it, we've had some motor issues with it. We fixed a few things. There has been some used graders out there with a lot less hours on them. And that's why, right now, when I was talking with a couple of the different salesmen, I looked at rebuilding the motor, the transmission, everything in ours, and you're gonna get it almost as much into that with the cost of parts, if, in the availability. The problem with ours is 99.
okay.
The one that we own now. I mean,
Oh.
originally we were gonna put it out because it's not a piece of equipment we use a lot, but we have to have it because we have 21 miles of dirt road. And
Okay.
that has to be graded.
And that's usually what, done twice or once a year? How many times?
It's twice a year depending
Spring
on
and
the,
fall.
yeah, spring and fall normally, and then if you get a lot of rain or if we have any type of unfortunate flooding, it'll be used a lot more.
Is there, could you rent one? How is?
You can
renting
rent
work?
them. The problem with renting is there's only 2 places that rent and everybody else rents, and then we're gonna be up against, if I don't get it till July and after winter months, after we've torn the road all up plowing snow.
So but it's not, is it first come, first serve, or is it the fact that
A lot
someone
of it's
who's
first
already,
come, first serve, and a lot of these places that have rented them for years,
they get first?
Yeah.
they're already booked out for 2 or 3 years.
Okay,
I tried renting one before because ours was down and we were, unfortunately, we got backed up,
okay.
which unfortunately the phone calls come either here or my phone. Uh, So I mean, I either have to take money out of my maintenance, which, I mean, if I have to do a motor job on that grader, it's about $50,000. And I'm kind of weighing my odds on the blades getting worn out. The transmission's original, and it works. It's not like it works like it should, like it.
I hate to ask this though, given that truck or grader,
Oh,
if
definitely.
you had to
the
push
truck.
one off
Oh,
for
I
1
pushed the
year,
grader off.
you push the grader off?
Right. I mean, the unfortunate part, like I said, if something happens, then I'd have to find one to rent, and we'd have to wait. Or sometimes, I mean, if we're lucky, another town has one that, you know, will lend you if they're not using theirs, if they get their grading done.
Well,
already.
do all the other towns have graders?
Most of them, and that was one of the big discussions because of the cost of them. We were actually had tried to talk to a couple other towns about purchasing one grader and sharing it amongst the towns, but the other town, town of Winchester went and bought a new one instead because they said it wasn't going to work out.
How about approaching the other towns and using their equipment, but having their people, I mean, you'd have to hire them to do it.
That was the
'Cause
whole
what I-
talk,
yeah,
right?
'cause-
But the like Warwick's grader is 1970.
Nice.
70 or
Use it twice a
79.
year or something? No, I'm just, you know, it does make sense to work with other towns if possible. And what I hear when the biggest argument about that is using some other town's equipment, but not using their person to do it, and you kind of lose ownership of that. And
Right.
what happens with that is the equipment is, I wouldn't say, abused. So, in order for that not to happen, you would have to have probably that same town come over and maybe you could swap off, you know, a worker for, you know, doing it that way. And it almost makes sense to try to work that out. And I would love to sit down with other towns and see if that could be a viable thing, because you're talking, you know, $200,000 and up for these pieces of equipment, and if it could be shared right, it would still last the same amount of time. Especially like you said, like a grader, because a grader, you use it twice a year, maybe, what, a month, if that?
Yeah.
2 months a year.
Roughly a couple hundred hours a
Yeah,
year.
yeah, so it's something that could last a long time.
Right.
So of these two, you're saying that if need be, to try to keep the budget where we can. And we're gonna be looking at this and how it would affect what the taxpayers are gonna have to pay as far as doing that. Because a lot of times we try to use free cash, but it's not as much this year as we've had in the past. So that means a lot of these things will have to come out of our taxation. And I really am reluctant to try to have that happen. We aren't in a position where we have a lot of industry that helps pay for our taxes. So it's left to the burden of the taxpayers of the town. And I hate to pay my taxes like everybody else, and we're trying to do our best to keep it at a reasonable rate. So we'll be discussing this and maybe come back with your input in it if we need to after we look at it. The last thing is, we talked about this a little bit in the past, is $15,000 for protective shields. Explain this
Oh, the disc
again.
mower.
Yeah,
It's a
this-
disc mower.
Yeah,
For mowing underneath the guardrails and around like telephone poles and everything, we normally have people weed whack. In the 23 years I've been there, there's probably been 7 or 8 of them have ended up in the hospital from poison ivy. and everything, and we didn't do any weed whacking this year, cause 2 of the people are highly allergic to poison ivy, and 90% of the guardrails you have out there are nothing but poison.
So
ivy.
what is this piece of equipment? It's
It's
a
a-
mower type that,
It's a mower type that goes on the front of a tractor that we have,
huh?
hooks up hydraulically, and if you have posts, it hits the posts and it goes around them.
Okay, I've seen
And
those,
you,
yeah.
you drive very slow, and then you go around the next one, and so it does all. After the mowers go behind the guardrails, then this mower would go down the sides of the road, around like the street signs, because we have to keep the vegetation around the street signs down.
Okay,
The vines grow up, which 90% of the time is poison ivy, and we can't spray. That's one of our biggest problems. If we could spray it over the top of the guardrails, and we wouldn't need this. But to spray, you have to have a license. You have to have a full-blown state plan, which I've looked into before, and a couple of people said you really can't afford it in a small town.
okay. So this is actually a piece of equipment that is designed to protect from,
Yeah, because a person would be in an enclosed tractor, so that they wouldn't get the juice from the poison ivy and everything else that they get when they're weed whacking.
okay.
And they wear their protective equipment and stuff now, but it doesn't. And we have wipes. I mean, I have boxes of stuff they pre-wash with prior to. It's just several towns don't weed whack because of this.
Have employees lost days because of this?
Oh, yeah.
Poison ivy?
Some of them had to go get steroid shots and stuff.
Okay.
Do they wear special clothing when they
They
do?
yeah, and then they come right back and take it off. And
Okay.
I mean, they basically wear.
Yeah,
You know, when it's 100 degrees, they're out there with people look at them because they got long sleeve shirts and everything else on. But the hardest thing is for us to keep the stuff down because the mower can only get so close. Especially like you got the guide wires off the back of telephone poles, so you can't fit in between and around.
So would you say this would alleviate the problem or make it less?
Well, it's not going to completely alleviate it because to change the blades, I mean, you wash it, but you can still get the juices from it.
I
mean,
didn't want
it's-
anybody to think if you get this that nobody's ever gonna get.
Oh no,
poison ivy.
no. I mean, we get the poison ivy now off the mowers when we change the blades, like I said, or when the guy tries to wash it before he greases it and stuff. But sometimes he's not always around near the hose where he can rinse it off before he greases it in the morning. I mean, he wears gloves and everything else.
Okay. Any
It's
questions?
some new equipment that's out there. There's more and more of them, and honestly, that's probably why it's going to be less than this. It's just right now the price the guy gave me. He says these are going up. They're hard to get. It's like anything. I mean, my prices are a little inflated. It's just I don't want to go to the town and say I need $6,000 because that's the exact quote, or $8,000. And then find out, okay, now town meeting's passed it, and now it's $10,000 or $12,000. I'd rather give a little money back.
I can understand that, and that ends up becoming free cash. Anything that's not used up, people, it's not really free cash. It's cash that has been freed up from the previous year. So that's what that would be.
And there's a couple different
However-
brands out. There's only like 2 brands out there right now of these. A new one just came out last fall that we looked at a show, and that's this price. And the other one they were supposed to bring up and demonstrate last summer, but another town used it and destroyed it, and they were waiting all summer for parts for it. So again, we can rent it, but I tried to rent it even to do this. And the guy says, well, we only have one machine, and so when you only have one machine in Franklin County area and everybody's renting it already, then
So when you do this, when a person mows it, is it the same person mowing all the time, or is
Most
it
of the time,
different?
yeah.
Okay, so they
Yes.
know what they're doing, and they have done this for
yeah,
a few years anyway. So
yeah.
So
I mean,
this-
actually, that mower, the sidewalk machine we mow with now too, we roadside mow because you can go more places on side hills and stuff. And the girl that runs it for us, she got poison ivy last year just from sitting on that 'cause it doesn't have a cab on it. You can't run a cab on that during the summer months. We do in the winter, but the way it's designed with the tires, you can't run the cab because if something is to happen with it, you can't get out the doors
oh,
on it. So you,
To save.
because it runs dual tires in the summer months for the stability, and we run single tires in the winter, that's why we can put the cab on it.
Okay.
Because the way, if it pivots in the middle, it articulates. And so with the dual tires, they come right around and then you can't get out, so if it was a tip over or something, we're not supposed, it's got a roll bar on the back, but we can't run the cab on it in the summer.
Okay.
Is this the John Deere piece of equipment that you
No.
attach this to?
It's it's called a vent track.
Okay,
It's the one that we got through the grant to do the sidewalks.
okay.
It's got a snow blower, we have a snow blower and a blower, and we have all kinds of attachments.
It's great,
for
they
it.
come and plow.
We just did the plow, and you've been doing that, what, for 2 or 3 years now, the
This is the
sidewalks?
second year.
Second year?
Yeah.
Do you do Highland?
Highland, Main Street and Highland, and Holton Street.
Any questions?
And then we, I call it fertilizing, but it's salting. It's like the fertilizer spreader,
just
it's on
spread
the
it out.
back of
Oh,
it,
it's
and it
gonna
drops
spread
it.
it, okay.
You fill it with bags, that's the only inconvenient part, it only has a 40-pound hopper.
Mhm.
So like some people are asking me, why is the truck, these last couple of ice storms, following why does he have to follow them? Because they gotta carry the extra bags of salt with them and stop and fill them up.
Interesting.
I'm all set.
Any other questions, anything else? Tom, thank you for coming, appreciate it, and, you know, we'll be discussing this as far as your capital, projects
Oh,
there.
Dan, I'm sorry, I just got one other question, I just remembered. Tom, the water main breaks that were happening up on Pearson Road, is that continuing to be an issue, or is that
No,
been,
they replaced,
They replaced
the bad spot they replaced.
they replaced? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was just an ongoing issue or it was
Oh, it
solved.
was up until the fall. Was it November? I think they finally ran a whole new main from Winchester Road
Mm-hmm,
to Hamilton Drive. The
okay,
bad section through the wet spot, there's still old pipe. I think it's another 750 feet
mm-hmm,
from Hamilton Drive down to the Camp Northfield
okay,
driveway is where it ends. They haven't had any issues.
okay. I didn't know if that was just an ongoing thing or that.
No,
was
it would have been an ongoing thing.
Okay.
I mean, it was almost every other week. Sometimes it was 3 a week.
Well, I'm
Is
glad
that
you don't
just-
have to deal with that.
Is that just deteriorating lines, or?
Yeah, it's transite pipe, and it's through a wet area, and it just makes the pipe porous.
Yeah.
And it actually blows. I mean, I can be sitting in my house in here and blow up the road. Sounds like a little bomb went off.
Oh, geez.
So,
Alright.
but that section is done. Hopefully, solves the problems.
Okay.
Perfect,
So,
thank you.
all right, thank you.
I got a call that the Board of Health Chair was ill,
Oh, okay.
so
So, yeah, so next
happy
on
to
the-
talk about this a little bit. It's not too terrible, but I'm
No.
happy to fill you in a little bit since I,
So, Board of Health, since you're taking over the. Okay.
so yeah, we have Board of Health and you have Transfer Station. Board of Health agent is an assessment, so the reason that number is what it is because it's a joint assessment with 2 other towns, and the Northfield went down, so, yeah. It's always nice to see, just a little bit, but.
Where is the requested amount, or is it just?
It's requested at 12,708.
Oh, okay.
Last year was 12,998.
Okay.
So
I
it's
just didn't
down
see it on my sheet.
$290.
Okay.
Couldn't tell you why. That's one of the Board of Health members is part of that,
Mhm.
the 3-town group, and goes to that. So I'm sure the assessment numbers have to do with whatever their operating costs are, what they're doing. The salaries is, that one I can't really speak to because that one is a request from them, so I assume they're asking to up their stipends.
Shouldn't that be a general conversation with all these elected boards?
And is at times, so, and there's certainly something that will ask them to just send a rationale in, send
Yeah.
some language in. They'll have to just address it on town meeting floor, I assume anyway, if someone asks, so.
Because you got several elected boards, and I'm sure they would love to see increases.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
we've
seen that.
instituted some boards had no stipends and finally
Right.
have stipends.
Yeah,
And then once you start the ball rolling, everybody else
Else-
is gonna say, no more volunteer for free, I wanna
Yeah.
get a stipend for,
yeah,
know,
and didn't the
services.
select board a couple of years ago try upping their
And
stipend?
that didn't go through, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And the planning board did get started.
Planning board.
Yeah.
But anybody that does have a stipend does get the COLA.
COLA, I do the
Yeah.
Yeah,
COLA.
it's
Oh,
not-
okay.
It's an automatic increase.
Okay.
for us to
Yeah,
do that.
some towns do that, some don't, but this, they already were doing it here, so I don't do it.
Okay.
And some are based on education too.
yeah,
For example, the town clerk, if a certified town clerk gets certified, or a town clerk gets certified, then they would get $1,000.
No, you have to pass that first.
Yeah.
right, you have to get,
Yeah.
accept
You have
the
that
passage,
article in town
accept,
meeting, it's a town meeting vote.
yeah, accept the Mass General Law.
So I'll ask them to just send in what the thought is. I don't know the breakdown on that and what their thought process is on that, but I will get that for you. The reason I have a note on the Board of Health Secretary is just that it was actually incorrectly calculated, well, it was put in last year as a flat number, but the truth is, it should have been a different number, so that $200 seems, it's slightly more than 3%. But it's not much.
Yeah,
It's like $40 more than 3%, but I just had a note on it in case anybody did the math as to why, because it's actually a catch-up from, you'll see they went from 4 to 5 with a $100 request. And usually I catch that and make that the COLA, but it snuck through based on hours, and so it should have, that number in 5 was wrong, so it made 6 calculate wrong. So it's catching that up, but it would have been a COLA of $172 anyway, so it's slightly different. The nurse, that's an assessment, that's through the Franklin Regional Council of Governments Nursing Program. So that $1,000 is an assessment increase.
Where's the nurse, who does the nurse serve?
Well, there are,
School or?
well, no, the nurse does things at the senior center at times.
Senior center, okay.
Plus, we also have referrals to the nurse, plus we also have, so they have a whole program of
Yeah.
things that the nurse also keeps track of things in Northfield, was very active during COVID.
Okay.
But there is a whole program, a nursing program through the Regional Council of Governments, and we joined that during COVID because we did not have any public health nursing services.
Okay, so,
yeah, I think Shutesbury subscribes to the same program, and I think she's up there once a week with hours and stuff.
Yeah, and I think the senior
Yeah.
center sees her
Yeah.
a bit more.
Yeah.
We don't really have hours here per se,
Yeah.
but through them. A mosquito control, again, that is assessment, and they went up 5% this year, so in their request, so there's the $250 for the mosquito control
So
district
Is
that we belong
is
to.
that at the school, or how is their?
The mosquito control district?
Yeah. how
No,
did-
we joined the Pioneer, okay, so the state
Pioneer.
passed, if you think back a couple of years, the state
Yeah,
passed
it's
a
about
law that we
4
had to
several
have a
years ago.
plan
Yeah.
or join
Yeah.
a district. And the plan was this complicated, convoluted process that you had to go through, and there was a form, and then you had to have people who came in and did the testing. You have to do testing so you could. So we actually got on the list and then joined the controlled district, which is was a much better controlled alternative. They send us reports. The Board of Health gets reports from them on what's testing in the area, what's testing in the region. So they have a whole, they have a staff. So we're a member of that district which satisfies that requirement from the
So is
state.
it just testing that they do?
Well, they're watching all the mosquito-borne diseases. So testing is a big part of what they do, but they're testing different mosquitoes in different locations. They do education. They put out educational materials. So if we were to see, and we've seen a few tests not that far from Northfield come back for West Nile. So they monitor and educate.
Do we have anything in place if it tests like downtown, we had mosquitoes for testing with West Nile?
Well, I
or-
think then you end up with a plan through them. Then they
Okay.
would
come in with
they
a
would
plan.
be working with you on what you have to do. Yeah. So that's a entity we belong to meet that state requirement. We were lucky to get in, because actually, a lot of people wanted to join all of a sudden, and We beat the rush a little bit, but it took us a year. We had to wait to get in. And you actually voted at a special town meeting your first
Right,
assessment.
right.
It
Yeah, because
wasn't
I
a
know
regular
both
town
Pelham
meeting to
and
join.
Shrewsbury. I don't see that, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they sent a letter saying they were doing a 5% increase,
Yeah,
so that's, I
yeah.
just calculated it.
I
to-
don't know if because Pelham's part of Quabbin Health, and I don't know if they're doing it. 'cause
There
I
are
did-
various places to meet.
Yeah, but they may
people
be
meet
paying that fee to them.
through them,
Yeah.
through the health, yeah.
Yeah, through their assessment.
Well, you're supposed to be, it doesn't mean the state's always on you.
Mhm.
So then you get to the transfer station, right?
Yeah.
Let me get past my, I have 2 copies of this. So transfer station wages, and you'll see that's flat. It's been calculated
Well,
high for a couple, it was calculated high, the request was high at least 2 years ago. So I actually have a chart now that keeps track of who works, how many hours, what their pay rate is. So we don't need an increase in that budget. If you notice, last year's expenditure was 43,000. And we're at 16. So I don't think we're gonna hit 47 next year. So I'm not recommending that you increase that line item yet. The following year, that might change. But right now, we've been carrying that same line item because it doesn't make sense to increase it, because we're not there yet. The only other change, I mean, you can see, there's the cost of operating the transfer station. The only other change is the COLA for the position of the recycling coordinator.
and again, I've been talking
Oh, and the
to,
solid waste
Yeah.
district, I'm sorry.
And that's an
That's
assessment.
an assessment.
Yeah.
every year for the last 20 some odd years, when we've been paying, or actually, I'll take it back, it's only been for 14 years. The $20 that are paid for the stickers, that goes back into the general fund.
Correct.
Why isn't that being used to, if they needed to upgrade equipment there, why isn't it being put in a revolving account?
You could establish a revolving account. Oops. Most towns don't do that because the amount of money it generates would take you any number of years. And the equipment you're talking about here is pretty pricey if you're gonna replace like a compactor. It just has never been created that way. Now, they do have the grants that come through every year from the state, the recycling grants, and that money is placed into a special account. And that's what, if you've been to the transfer station, you're watching a building get built, that's fully funding that construction. They saved it for years and years and years,
Yeah.
and are fully funding the new building. That's been the goal of saving that money for years, to build that new building, due to the nature of the building they have, and the short halls of the building they have, and the issues with it. So, so there is some funding that comes in through, and that's through recycling. There's a recycling grant.
I probably should ask Tom when he's here, but there's 2, looks like garages underneath, is that used by the transfer station? Or is that gonna be used
Talking about
by,
the new foundations?
well, they get 2 garages underneath, 2 bays underneath that, the new building. Is
Oh,
that-
that's all transfer station. It's
All
all to be
transfer-
transfer
okay.
station. So but there's also things that are gonna be in there, like you already have like the tool lending library, you have various things. And I don't know the plan, that's why if Bob was here, he could explain that to
Okay.
you more carefully, but that is all transfer station.
Okay.
Anticipated, yes.
Okay.
They've been working on that since long before me. They've been saving up the funding from the,
I know they were looking for a building where
SMRP
they
funds.
could do better recycling as far as that, like if the cardboard bailing up, that sort of thing, bailing up.
Gone back and
Yeah.
forth with the cost of that. For a while, there was a couple of years there when recycling used to earn money.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Now it doesn't earn money anymore. You actually pay to dispose of most recycling. There's some demand for real good cardboard, like corrugated cardboard, but in terms of plastics, we're actually paying to dispose of that now. Some of it is, we presume, going to facilities, because there are some facilities that are actually recycling plastics into things. But I couldn't tell you, it goes down to the Springfield facility. And from there, we don't have a sense of that. But we have to pay for the hauling and the cost of the weight for it. So it's still cheaper and recommended than the actual trash. But, we don't make any money by weight anymore for those.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you for presenting it for the,
I will ask about the stipends to get back to you.
yeah.
I know in Shutesbury, we actually pay to haul the recycling.
We do too.
Yeah.
We pay the
Yes.
haulage here. That's what all those costs
Yeah.
are for,
Yeah.
in
Not
there.
just the trash, but the recycling.
Yeah,
You gotta
yeah, we
pay.
have a contract, so yes, the
Yeah.
trucking fees are both, trash and recycling.
Yeah,
You gotta pay the trucks.
yep.
Sewer.
We have to wait 5 minutes?
Huh?
Yeah, we have to wait 5 minutes?
No.
Okay.
Didn't you see my little splitters? We can
Ah,
put that on there.
oh, I see.
Good evening. I know who you are,
Me too.
but I'm not sure if the other people here know who you are. So please identify yourself.
Isaac Golding, Chief Operator for the sewer system.
Bernie Boudreau, I'm on the sewer commission.
Okay. Please present your budget. And again, I'll give you the spiel because you weren't here earlier, but we are a recommending group of people. We recommend budgets to the select board. We look over the budgets with the select board. The select board then decides whether to put them on the town warrant for the annual town election. Everything that's on the warrant is voted on by the taxpayers of the town of Northfield. They are the ultimate decision makers on everybody's budget and everybody's capital projects. Being said, you're on, Isaac.
It's pretty straightforward. We're trying to, minimally increase, all the lines, but, as everyone knows, nothing's getting cheaper every year. The two main points down at the very bottom, manhole raising, part of that covers helps with the consent order and the asset management plan.
I
And
think they have the old version that just
Oh.
says it for 45, but it has been split, so you might wanna explain
Oh,
that.
it's split between, instead of being 45,000, it's 25,000 for manhole raising and 20,000 towards the engineering of the electrical panel. The electrical panel is kind of a big deal because it's basically aged out. It needs to be replaced. I was quoted roughly 300,000 to replace it. It's, 50 years old, can't get much more out of it than that.
Okay. Just look at
I do have the warrant articles when
this. Do
you
you?
go to the
Yes, I'd
capital.
like to see that, if we have it.
Yeah.
You have their operating budget, but here's the warrant articles.
And again, you guys are an enterprise fund, so you basically are run by the people who use the sewer. The board basically sets the rate for the sewer users. And I know, so you're looking, let me look at, this is what you're talking about. The first one was $20,000.
So this is the capital articles, this is different than his operating budget.
Okay, the operating budget is pretty much, as you said, explained. Let's see, is there any questions on any of these that we have before us?
And I think you were also sent the staffing plan
The
for the
what?
sewer,
Yeah, there was,
payroll.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just in case you want that
Oh, yeah,
plan
yeah.
as well.
Okay. So do you want to go line by line on this, or, I mean, it is what it is as far as doing now. It looks like it's increased by $58,000, 58 plus. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, 58,725.81.
And part of that is for the consent order, we have an asset management plan, and we're starting to attack some small things on that.
Okay.
that's part of the increase. Part of it's, the other part, like Isaac said, is the cost, especially chemical costs, lab costs.
Sludge cost is always a big one too.
Okay,
You
so
know,
you're talking about materials that are needed to run the plant are reflected in the increased cost? Is
Yeah,
that what
correct.
I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's also a $6,000 increase to the indirect, just so you
Yeah.
know, that's the money that they have to pay for insurance,
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
building, health insurance, and all the indirect costs associated with the staffing of the plant.
Why are wages going down quite a bit?
Yeah, is there some shipping?
We
Huh?
removed the assistant chief operator position for now.
Okay.
I do not believe we're gonna find a suitable assistant chief operator at the moment.
Do you have a backup if you're not around?
I have 2 part-timers,
Okay.
Everett Wickline and Sam Stevens, so in an emergency, they can be called in.
There is still a full-time position in there, it's just not the chief.
Okay.
Correct, there's an operator
Okay,
position,
so there is,
yes.
okay.
But given the climate in the state, filling operator positions is tough right now. There's not enough people. It's all that, we're still trying to get somebody in there, but
So is this an ongoing request that it might happen? Is
Yeah.
it being advertised and just that
Correct.
nobody
Yes.
is set forward
Correct.
to fill that position?
We're working on it. It's an ongoing search to try
Is
to.
there someone, I mean, if there's someone interested but does not have the qualifications, it could be sent to school, is that, or taught, is that something that is
Correct.
feasible?
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm not opposed to training
Okay.
the right person.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions on the budget part? Again, as an enterprise fund, you have a lot more control with your enterprise. The thing that again, the taxpayers would give you the okay on your enterprise fund. Now, we're going over to your capital projects, $20,000 for the Highland Culvert. Would that be in conjunction with what, I don't know if you were here when Tom was here, but we were talking about culvert on Highlands. Is it the same culvert?
Correct.
Okay. So, but there's two entities, the sewer and, so you're working in conjunction with the highway department with this?
This was more along the lines of they're gonna have to, dig up the entire road there, so there's gonna be a chunk of sewer that's gonna need to be replaced. And we weren't sure, I'm not sure what's, no one knows what's there until they dig it up. So I don't know exactly what's gonna need to be replaced, it depends on how far they dig back. There's a manhole right near the bridge, but, they've got the culvert, I'm sorry.
Yep.
They've gotta dig all that up, so I don't know the extent of what we're gonna need to do over there to.
So it sounds to me though, the water district up there too probably has some issue or some input into that because there's probably water lines going through there also, is there?
I believe so, I don't know for sure.
So there should, it sounds like you need a coordinated effort if that's the case.
Part of it too was, it might be, clay tile pipe in there, so if they break that out of there, it'll be nice to put, plastic in there, to replace it. But it's kind of one of these things we don't know, I don't know what's gonna happen until they dig it up,
Okay. Is the water district aware of, you guys want to do this?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Wouldn't that be something that the sewer should talk to the water district also, or, Andrea, is there,
The engineers are very aware.
okay.
Okay.
All right, I
The
just,
engineers are doing all
it would
of
be
the engineering.
a waste of a good opportunity to take care of more than one thing at the time, so, I just wanna, let people be aware of that. So this $20,000 is for pipe and this,
We might need to bypass for a couple days while the hole's open, I just don't know exactly what is gonna happen when, this might be a very smooth operation and they'll be in and out of there in a week, or it might not be. So I just don't know.
okay. Any questions on the $20,000?
Because 20 comes out of their, surplus, and then if they don't need all of it, it just goes back to their surplus.
Correct, that's coming out of your
enterprise.
Yeah,
enterprise.
the enterprise surplus.
Now the biggie, $300,000, where you're looking for $150,000 from the town. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're looking at it and just, you know, if the electric goes down on this project and, you know, we're down for a week, it's either shut down the sewer for the whole town or let stuff flow through the plant and go to the river. You know, this is a major problem. It could shut down the whole town, or it could cost the town a lot of money. We start dumping straight to the river so that people's sewers don't back up. You know, you don't know what the DEP is gonna do. Because we have to report that when that happens. Isaac has to report it as
Yeah, yeah.
part of the licensing and permitting. But, so we were thinking the town, you know, and we talked with Andrea about it. And, you know, we just thought that the town might be able to kick in and it would help. 'Cause so, you know, we feel like we're trying to keep the rates down as, you know, as much as possible. Keep the increase to the budget down, where this does affect the town. You know, and like I said, if we get fined, it's not the sewer commission or the enterprise fund that gets fined, it's the town. So that's,
Yeah, people have to realize, I think it's hard for people to remember, the sewer is actually a town department. It's not a district, like the water district that has its own
yeah,
taxing entities and billing. Sewer's actually a town department. So
So
if they get fined, the town is on the hook for that.
the thing that I don't think the rest of the town realizes is that the people on that are on a sewer are also paying taxes in this town. And, you know, you're paying taxes to your town because you want your town to succeed. And if somehow it fails, the town is 100% responsible for fines or for replacement. So a lot of people in the town they have their own sewer and they have their own water, but they don't realize that there's a group of people that happen to live in these areas that actually also pay taxes in this town. So they are supporting the whole town, just like people who aren't on the sewer commission are supporting the whole town. So I think it's a time for the town to think about the other people in the town and try to help them out. I know that years and years ago, that they ran a line down East Street, and the town actually paid for the land, for the running of the line down East Street. Of course, the people that were on East Street were told that they had to hook up to it, so at their expense, but it's still, the town took the initiative to run the sewer down East Street. So it's not precedent setting to have the town help out with other entities of the town, and in this case would be the users of the sewer, so.
Also remember what's on the sewer on Main Street, not only town hall, library,
The
the
school.
school, all these businesses, everybody, if they shut down for however long, everything shuts down,
Yeah.
all of that shuts
Yeah.
down. So it's
That would
not
also
just
include the
home.
campus, correct? The college
Yeah,
itself.
Yeah.
So that it would be a huge failure.
or you just let, like I say, if you don't shut it down, you let it go to the river on DEP's.
Oh, obviously,
yeah.
we can't let that happen as far as doing it.
No,
So,
yeah,
the thing that I think has to be brought out is, this is, even though it benefits, certain people in town, those people still pay taxes in this town. And if they decided that they didn't want to help pay taxes for other people, then, this town ceases to exist. So I think that, it's time for the town to come together and help the members of the town. So, if you can, I'm convinced that this is a good thing to do. And I am not even on a sewer district, I have my own water, but we have to support the rest of the people in town. And it's gonna be a hard sell, because whatever I say, you've gotta convince the other 75% of the town that they need to help out their neighbors.
That's part of the reason the rest of that money, we're not gonna even think about asking for that until the fall town meeting.
Can I ask you whether the other potential option is that you bond for $300,000 for, say, 5 years, instead of going for and having the town bond for the entire amount, instead of having
We're gonna have them
150
bounce,
years?
we were trying to have the town go for half of it. But we could, and then we're gonna have to do a State House loan, a State House note.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget how many years.
Just recognize that if they bonded for the entire 600,000, or
300.
300,000 for 5 years or so, that's 60,000 plus interest per year.
Plus
That
interest.
you would put on this, on these ratepayers. That would be
Yeah.
astronomical.
Any idea what municipal bonds are going for right now?
I don't, we haven't asked, but it's not low, and it's not 2%.
No, it's yeah, it's not the 1% that we were getting a few years
Oh,
ago.
yeah.
At 60,000, you're probably expecting to pay 5,000 or more in interest as well each year.
Yeah.
So you're looking at between 65 and 70,000 each year that you would add to the sewer for that borrowing. I think the discussion that I heard was potentially trying to borrow half of it in the fall, because it's gonna take that long, you gotta engineer, you gotta get all the,
Yeah.
and then that way it's not 100% ask on the town.
You've been working with the you've been working with your bond advisors.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah.
We're waiting to see
Yeah.
if this is, whatever it is, and then, yes, we would have to talk to them about a State House note
Yeah.
program.
Well, at least they're cheap to borrow.
Cheaper than bonding.
Yeah.
Bernie did bring up something that chimed in. Is the school one of the bigger users?
I would, it's kind of hard to tell.
In the college or the?
The college, the college.
It's kind of hard to tell. We have, there's that line from the north side of town takes in a lot more than the southerly direction does. It's kind of hard to tell, until you put.
But obviously, they're a decent size user. Have the sewer commission approached the school and say, hey, we need to do this? If for some reason, like you said, if they lose it, you have to shut down the school, correct? They would have to shut down and do that. And maybe a shared expense with them to help with the infrastructure that's there would not be a bad thing. I don't know. I just is just throwing some of these thoughts out there. So have
I think they've, tried to approach them on certain things. I wasn't on the sewer commission when
okay.
they approached them, but they're not real receptive to talking with our boards, Board of Health, Sewer Commission. They,
Well,
they didn't seem real receptive to it.
well, they're gonna understand if it fails, and
Yeah.
And
They
they don't have a
fail.
college.
they have to close up shop as far as doing that. And not asking them to, just to good faith effort, kind of with them.
Yeah, help defray some of the costs
It would,
involved.
it would. And again, I haven't heard, anything real bad about the college, so, I don't know, is that something we could do, approach them?
Yeah, I think reaching out for them for sewer, we're also gonna reach out to them for EMS, for the ambulance.
Okay. Well, they've got three things there. You got EMS, you got sewer, and potentially you got water also. So they're actually, they aren't running the water district anymore, are they?
They never did.
No, it's still
Mount Hermon.
NMH.
They're still
NMH.
I'm
NMH.
a member of the Grandin Water District's commissioners, but they've never run the,
But isn't the water
NMH
commissioner
Grandin has
affiliated
taken,
with Mount
Grandin hasn't
Hermon?
taken over, it's still NMH, East Northfield Water Company still owns
Yeah.
water.
But I think it would be, if we have some time to approach them, then if we could reduce this in some way, shape, or form from the majority of the town, I think that would be an easier sell. So that might be something that you or the town could pursue. Again, the town, I think, is trying to help as much as we possibly can. But you gotta understand that there's people that say, well, shit, nobody helped me pay for my water or my sewer as far as doing it. But we all pay taxes in this town, and we all wanna help our neighbors out. So if we can kind of make it a little less, or a little bit more appealing, that might be a help in the long run. So I would say that maybe if Andrea is willing to help us out here and send something out to the college, coming from the town, maybe a little bit more of a push. All they're gonna say is no, so.
The other question I have is that, obviously, all this work is also gonna cost the ratepayers. What are you looking for increases for the ratepayers? I know that we've been brought before us, the fire department went up $1,000 on their sewer assessment, and then the town hall was $6,000, is that correct, Andre?
Probably looking at.
How much has that had an effect on the residential users of your district, or your, you know,
We haven't set the rates yet.
you haven't set the rates yet?
Haven't set the rates, but we're looking probably, trying, just by estimating what it's gone up,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we're looking 8-10%.
8 to 10%.
I don't know, that's just a wild guess, don't quote me on that, but
No, I
we're gonna have a
expect an
meeting
increase.
to go over the rates, and
Yeah.
at that point, the 5 commissioners will sit down and,
Now, doing the electrical now, when are you looking to really tackle the main issue, the facility itself? I know you're gonna look for grants or loans or anything to help replace, I mean, it's a 50-year-old facility. The electrical, is that so necessary that you cannot wait till you get either to that point of getting significant grants or a loan to replace the facility?
This needs to be replaced now.
So you're saying
It's that old.
it's more not, I want to say an emergency, but it's more of a necessity. It can't
Correct.
wait, that's what you're telling
I'm
us.
not an electrician,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm just going off of what, how long it took to fix the issue that we had.
Mm-hmm.
They may not know that they actually had an electrical emergency already that led
Yeah.
to this.
So that's,
and scrambled for parts because
you can't find
find them.
60-year-old.
No, and I understand, that's an important thing for you as the sewer commissioners and you as the operator, have to inform the townspeople and obviously your users of this situation that you're currently in. A lot of people don't understand, it's out of sight, out of mind. You have a lot of people, as Dan says, 75% are on their own water and septic. So obviously they either don't have an interest or care less, to be honest with you. They're not affected. But the situation is to the point, honestly, the facility is beyond its operational lifespan, and something has to be done. My concern too is I do hope, as Dan hopes, that the residents may step up to the plate on the request at town meeting. But I think you also better be prepared, because of the environment we're facing in, with the public being issues of taxes and increases and valuations and everything else, may not be receptive. So I would hope that's not the case.
we're aware of that.
Yeah, this is gonna be a tough situation. This is not a walk in a park. And again, that's why I was looking, hopefully, to maybe if bonding it over several, 5 years or longer would have less of an impact on the tax rate. You know what I mean, than going with 150,000 right off the bat.
Yeah.
But again, if you feel, Andrea, that's not a viable solution,
I think that what you're going to do to the sewer rate for everyone, and I mean, that includes all of your businesses in town, I think is pretty astronomical if you were to go to $70,000 a year just to pay this off in 5 years, because that's what you'd have to do. I mean, you'd have to essentially do 60,000 a year plus.
Can you go 10 years where it smooths it out a little bit?
Well, the other thing you have to keep in mind here is they have way more on their capital asset
Yeah.
management plan than just this. This was not something that was necessarily on the asset management plan at all. It cropped up as an emergency when it actually failed. So there are so many, and they're trying to tackle that, hence putting some money in for the manhole work. That's all the stuff on the asset management plan, and that all has to be tackled. So if you were to tie this borrowing up for 10 years, oh, there's a whole list of critical infrastructure that is going to come about that you can't do it all now because you've tied up $60,000 a
Yeah,
year
yeah.
in payments for 10 years, or 40,000 for 10 years.
So the,
It gets
That
very dicey
5%.
about that you're
Yeah.
you're done now for,
Because eventually we're gonna have to replace the plant.
Yeah, I know.
so
And
the,
that's,
the
you know,
next,
we did get a favorable ruling from the USDA on the income survey. We don't have to do that now. They use their census data based on the people on the sewer and found that our median income was under the average, what you needed. It was 80,000 some odd.
so you're,
So
For
we
low, moderate.
qualify for lower rates, modified, and better grants. So at some point when we go for money for the whole big project, once we get it all engineered,
are you talking state or federal grants?
both.
Right now, you're not gonna ever get a.
We're talking to everybody we can.
Well, unfortunately, with
oh, this.
federal
Federal,
grants, that's.
Yeah,
you
well,
gotta-
we'd be looking, going through, and I'm not the one, I haven't been involved in this long enough, but, you know, we're looking at going through USDA and all that, and State House, and,
Yep.
but you know, you borrow, you know, part of this by having the income survey coming under that 80,000 mark is, once you start with these major projects, you know, you have a line of credit, say like $20 million, just to throw a number out. You use 4 or 5 million, you get some of that in grants, so it doesn't, you know, but you're looking at a 30, 40-year loan when you're talking that amount of
Yeah,
money.
USDA is 40 years.
Yeah, 40 years, I believe it is.
So, the electrical part, as far as this, would this be something that would be done and could be incorporated in new building, or is this a 300, a fix that when they go to build a new building would no longer be usable? I'm trying to get,
I'm not an engineer on this, but this is to fix a now problem.
Which
This
it has
has
now,
no
okay.
bearing on any
anything in the
future.
future.
No, not at the moment.
Okay.
If they
So this
come
would-
in and do something, do new work, new wiring, new panel, there's a good possibility, depending how long it takes for we
Get
do
to the
it.
next step.
They could
Yeah.
just use that.
Well, that's what I was getting at, so we aren't.
Yeah, we don't know.
Part of it too is, you know, the technology could shift by the time they start doing something else.
Of course it will.
You know, and then it won't make sense to try to incorporate, you know, let's say it took 2 or 3 years to incorporate that older style
So-
panel.
But just remember,
Think-
you could be 10 years away from a new
Right,
plant.
or
Okay, so
whatever.
thinking forward, would there be a possibility that you would expand the user base? Is that something that would be within your plan if you're revamping your sewer system as far as doing that? I don't know how you could do it, there's things in the way that probably would not allow you to do that, you get little streams and stuff like that would be an issue, but other towns get away with that. Is that something, when you come, if and when you come back for, when you have to redo the plan, to have a plan in place where you could add more users? Because that again creates a broader base to work with?
Part of the asset management plan is to expand the sewer to attempt to make it, you know, more economically feasible.
We are discussing that at the meetings.
Expand more users,
Yeah.
where you could possibly do that?
Yeah,
Because
that's
it's-
been a
it's-
regular topic the last
Okay.
3 meetings.
Okay.
But, you know, as you know, it's not cheap to even
No.
come up with the plans to
Now-
even think about.
There must be other towns that are similar to us and have the same kind of issues.
Yeah.
Have you talked to any of them to see how they've worked with this kind of an issue where part of the town is and part of the town isn't, has sewer? And if they've had strategies to, you know, bring the others under, some kind of agreement?
I haven't talked extensively.
No, and I don't know if there's a lot of towns in the situation we're in. A lot of them around here have quite a few people on their sewer. The sewer is a town department, they don't run it by enterprise fund, comes out of their general budget like Orange.
No, Orange is an enterprise fund.
Are they now?
Yeah, they've always been.
Oh,
They've
okay.
been for about, I don't know how, they
Oh,
were
okay.
there before 2014, because that's when I came on
Okay.
board. But it is an
It
enterprise
is an
fund.
enterprise fund.
Hadley's an enterprise fund.
Okay,
Hadley's confusing because they're an enterprise fund, but they're DPW.
oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, they've got
So-
one,
Well, that's
but
what
they
I
have a
meant.
separate, yeah.
I meant
but
they
I-
run
It's
the
not
Their
a
money-
straightforward-
their
It's not a
money-
straightforward, it's
Yeah.
a straight enterprise fund or it's a highway
Yeah.
department, it's a little.
But their money is kept in an
I
enterprise
think it's
fund.
similar, it's an enterprise fund, but it's a town department,
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
yeah,
A lot of these towns are under the DPW.
yeah.
That was what I was getting
I
at.
think we
Yeah.
understand, you know, the issues you have to deal with as far as doing it, being that a lot of the town, majority of the town, kind of looks at it as, well, you know, I have my own septic, I have my own water, why should I be concerned? But I think what you have to express is, we're all taxpayers, and we all help each other out. And the thing is, if it fails, the town has to get involved. We will not have an option, they would have to get involved. So rather than paying a huge amount later, this is a better way of dealing with the problem that we have right now. And I'll let you go from there.
Okay.
Any questions before I say?
Well, the other thing is, I just want to say, I know that you've come forward, Mr. Boudreau, to assist because you had vacancies on the sewer commission. Is there another select board member also assisting in the sewer run?
Yeah, BJAC.
Because, and I want to,
Because the town, the state approved it,
yeah,
and it wasn't any time to have an election for it.
Mhm.
So, and we wanted to fill the seats because of the budget.
yeah.
We wanted to, they were having trouble getting a quorum.
No, I will.
We had one person resign,
Yeah,
Tommy, and so then you had just Karen and Dan.
yeah. But I would just want to say, I want to thank you and B, for stepping forward to trying to help here because of the vacancies.
Yeah.
Because again, a lack of a quorum and the fact that, you know, you're doing more additional duties beyond being just a select board member of trying to get this issue, these problems, to tackle them and to deal with them. And the other thing too is, we're not alone on this issue of the sewer plant. Many communities along the Connecticut River have the same generation of plants, all built in the most of the 1970s, and they're all in the same boat, having to replace or upgrade their facilities. So we're not just an outlier. This is happening to most of the communities. I mean, Deerfield, you're looking,
Deerfield
Sunderland,
just spent a
Hatfield.
lot of money.
Yes, they
Yeah,
have built.
Orange just upgraded their plant recently.
Yeah.
And Deerfield's looking at 2 plants. Not only they did one, they're looking at another one. They have 2 in their community. So I'm just saying, this is not, we're not alone. This is not like an outlier, that we're the only one with this problem. Many of the communities are facing the same thing, and they're having the same, look for help, but also having to fund part of this work to get this thing accomplished. And again, I clearly see the need. I'm not, like I said, at all. I just hope that, again, our residents understand that, and I think will have to be clearly presented.
Yeah.
There's not too many options left here. And
No, not a lot.
And
And I also mentioned that Tammy Pelletier stepped up
Mm-hmm.
and volunteered, and she's doing the sewer commission too.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I don't think people realize, you're not even in the sewer district.
Yeah,
You're up on the mountain. So
No.
basically, you're looking at the other half of the population in the town that wants to help out the sewer district.
Well, again, it's the residents have to realize the buck stops with Northfield, the entire town.
Yeah.
Well, if anything fails or anything's a real problem, the state and the federal government is not going to say, they're going to say, you're responsible, end of story. That's the bottom line.
the DEP could come in and just take over and say,
Do it.
you're gonna spend this money,
Yeah.
and here's what the rates are gonna be, and here's what the town's gonna pay. Then it's out of our hands.
Yeah.
So that's why we're trying to, we did get the consent order revised
Mm-hmm.
and spread out. Originally, it was over a 4-year period. We were gonna have to spend a ton of money, and the rates were gonna go up to like, $6,000 to $7,000
At
a year.
least.
the sewer rate in 4 years. So within that time, so we do have it spread out. It's 12, 13 years now, Isaac?
At least, yeah.
Yeah, we got it spread out. We got it so that,
Again, yeah, like I said, it's time for all taxpayers to help out
Mhm.
other people in the community.
But the other thing, that's the other thing they have to consider, that it would also have a very significant negative impact on home ownership. If you're faced with paying such very high rates, it makes those houses or those residents, their house is not as marketable and may even drop in value, and that would hurt the overall town's real estate values when you see that, you know, it would have to pay such, I'm not blaming you, but the exorbitant rates, that would have to be the reality of, you know, of doing this, you know, following the consent order. So it would have a clear negative impact on the overall, you know, town of Northfield. So it's, that's it.
Also, the Connecticut River, if you have to start having to go down there, I mean, think of the natural beauty of it, and now you can't fish in it, you can't swim in it, you may not even want a boat in it.
You know,
Any other questions? Thank you all for coming, I appreciate that.
thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, approval of minutes, what we're working on, we don't have any tonight, but what we're working on is AI. And what we did last week, and I sent it to Robin to look and kind of critique it, is it took our minutes and took the TV, on GCTV, and transcribed those into minutes. And I had a chance to look at them, and they were, what you'd have to do is just tweak them. Some of the things were kind of a little out of whack, but it was very easy to follow. And what they're thinking now is if we go this route and we're looking at doing that, there would be, well, we're on GCTV, so that would always be done. Huh?
BNCTV.
Oh,
YouTube.
YouTube. Oh, we can do that too. Whatever. But we would have, if we weren't being televised, we would have a computer or something that would be viewing us and changing that over to minutes. And then that would be looked at and made sense of, and then given it back to us. The person that's used it is Sandra. She's used it for the select board meeting, and she has said it used to take her about 8 hours to do the minutes. And she's down to a fraction of that time, because the majority of it's there, it was clear and concise. And it really doesn't become until we look at it and agree that this is what it is. So if we look at whether somebody is transcribing it or AI is doing it, if it makes sense, if it follows what we had talked about and we vote on it and agree to it, they now become our legal minutes. So we're looking at doing that to make it a lot easier, and also so that all the departments and all the committees can have, their minutes done correctly. And again, I'm gonna give my other hat. It makes it a lot easier for people looking for information that go through the town clerk's office to be able, for the town clerk to say, oh, go on the website, they're right there. And everybody can do it, rather than taking a few hours or something that needs to be done, going through paper, which we still do. You'll still have the paper to back that. But I think it's time to get into the 21st century. So we're looking at that. Any meetings attended?
well, what's that? Dan and I both attended the school, the PVRS budget committee meeting this past Tuesday. Was it the 28th? And we sat there and they presented their overall budget, and Dan is working to hopefully have them come before us and enunciate their budget to us and to the public.
Yeah, it's actually, you saw, if you looked at your emails, what I sent out to Jordan was to invite him to next Monday's meeting. If he couldn't make it on that short a notice, then I had the 24th as a follow-up or backup. So I will wait to hear from him. If I get an agreement, we'll put him on the agenda. We'll look at maybe 6:30 after the tech school comes in. And we will discuss it. I asked him to be, just concentrate basically on Northfield. And there's some issues that we would go over with him at that particular time. One of the things that came out of the meeting that we looked at was one line item that was kind of stuck out. And it was $990,000 to use for
School building authority.
building authority to do a survey or a rendering, and it's coming out of school choice, so,
It's engineering,
yeah, they're
of
gonna,
a plan of a new
yeah,
facility.
plans, yeah, and I did talk to them a little bit, plans on either building new building or reconfiguring Pioneer to accommodate all the students in the system. That building was designed to last 40 years, and it was designed to house 700 students. We do not have 700 students in our school system at this point in time. What that would mean would be to close up Bernardston and Northfield Elementary School and to have them go to Pioneer. It's just they're just talking about it now, but they're using this fund to do a study to see if it's feasible. And they are taking out of this year's budget, I think $990,000 to do that
Did you
study.
say that's from their school choice?
It's from school choice
choice.
money, we
Yeah.
had $1,200,000
Yeah.
in that particular thing. So that would be something I would just ask about.
Yeah.
I think that's about it.
Yeah.
We're still waiting to get the final draft of the agreement for the 3 towns. I haven't seen it yet. They want legal to look at it, and there was a question whether the 3 towns, who was gonna pay for the legal fees. So that's something we'd have to hash out as far as doing it. I would say there would be a shared cost for something like that. But that would be, I would be coming back either to the town for that, or if it's legal, I don't know if we talked about what we have legal, or if it was something unforeseen, we would maybe look at a coming out of our funds. But that's just the start of the whole project. Any public comments, sir? And could you identify yourself again, please?
Mitch Damon, 5 Main Street.
Mitch, I appreciate you coming here. You come into my office anytime if you want to go over anything else. I'd be more than happy to do that with you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
If you have any questions that you're not clear of, we can do that. Any other gentlemen in our audience?
Okay.
And you are.
David McCarthy.
Thank you, David, appreciate it. One of the things that if we do the AI, we would do like we do if we're doing a recording. We would put our names and say who we are, just so that AI would understand who's talking. But it's pretty good at picking out who's talking. It was amazing, because it was really good.
Wow.
Correspondence, I did give you what the lawyer has sent me. I had a discussion with Andrea about that, and I'm worried about the trickle-down effect of the federal government to the state government to us. And I see it as a possibility, talking sewer, if they're looking for federal grants,
Yes.
that may be in the future out there, who knows? But
Yeah.
we, as the finance committee, have to think about what might happen and what funds the state may not be giving the town that would affect our town to create a budget. So I just keep that in mind when we're going through our discussions. We're not that into that yet. We're not worried about it for this budget, but in the years to come, that could be a definite issue.
Well, if a recession gets triggered, our state funds go down.
I have nothing else that not anticipated. Our next meeting would be February 10th at 6. And like I said, right now it's the tech school. If the tech school doesn't come, we're working on other things we can discuss. We can start looking at some of the capital articles that are out here and kind of have a discussion on those. By that time, we'll have a better idea. I think we have a pretty good idea of what we have for free cash monies. It looks like there is some articles that are gonna have to be out there that are not small articles that would be raised and appropriate. So we've got to be very sharpen up our pencils. We're gonna have to really do some really thinking about what we want to recommend.
Bernard?
With that said,
I, Bernie Parada, make a motion to have the Finance Committee adjourn.
do I have a second?
I Gail Weiss, second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Dan Campbell says yes.
Gail Weiss, yes.
Bernie Parada, yes.
Lindsay McCarthy, yes.
We adjourn at 7:40. Again, thank you all for coming. I appreciate you being here.
It should be, we're heading back from Maine, but I'll keep my husband on track to get in town by 4 o'clock.
Just be here. See?
I didn't want you to say anything. I didn't want you to say anything while I was still alive.